It's Saturday, the 29th of November. I thought we'd take a look at some of the oil stocks and the oil price charts after the fairly dramatic events this week. So, oil fell. This is Brent weekly chart. Fell about $10 from $80 to $70 this week. So about 13% fall, which is probably the largest. You can see here it's one of the largest falls in the last 5 years. And it broke down below this previous support level that was holding for the last couple of weeks at about $76, and now is down to 70. So it's sort of sitting on this. I guess you could say it's a mini support level here. There's not a lot of obvious support beneath that as well. So theoretically, I guess the really sort of worst case scenario I can see is maybe $50 if you got this holding this range here. Now, I don't see that happening, because you can see if you look at how oversold it is, it's the RSI down to 12 on a weekly chart is unheard of. Even in the financial crisis, didn't get to that level. So this is really quite bearish. So when you get to, we've sort of seen at the end of a move, you tend to see these quite sharp drops, and that tends to be, I wouldn't be surprised to see a bit of a matching candle here, green candle at least sort of halfway up here, back to sort of $75 to $80 next week. That's what we saw here in this last really large down move. You saw this almost engulfing candle here. So I think the odds favour a little bit of a bounce here, at least in the short term. And then we'll see if some of the rhetoric around OPEC production comes true, and that really suppresses the price for the next sort of 6 months, because a lot of the way the oil stocks moved yesterday on the ASX was suggesting that people are now, pricing in oil to be below $70 for the next year or so, which I don't see. So we'll have to wait and see, I guess. So this is a chart of Santos. I put this one up a month or so ago now, and I highlighted these levels. So $10 and $15 is the range we've been stuck in for 5 years now. And it has looked quite bullish. I sort of pointed out last time there was a bit of an inverse sort of head and shoulders pattern here. And it was looking like it might come through the upside, but obviously with the oil price declines, we've come back down now and tested this $10 level again for the third time in 5 years. So the weekly volume, you can see, was the highest it has been in 2 years, and on a daily chart it's even more dramatic. You can see that we had this just massive gap down yesterday, and the volume was the highest in 4 years. So absolutely never seen anything like that with a gap down like that to start the day. Santos is a fairly usually not a very volatile stock, and to fall 13% is unheard of. So I don't know, it's hard to tell. Obviously a lot of people dumping Santos yesterday. It looked like it was being accumulated all day around this sort of 10:30 to 10:40, and that held for almost all day, and then in the closing auction another 3 million shares were dumped, I think, and it broke down to 10:10. So I don't know, it's looking pretty oversold on the weekly chart in particular. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a bit of a bounce here, especially if the oil price bounces. We could easily see Santos back up to $11 in the first few days of next week. That sort of fall is really quite unbelievable. But yeah, I don't see. They came out with an update this week saying that GLNG was on track basically, so there was no major changes there. So the company, I think there's a few, they're potentially raising some more debt as well, because they're worried about the cash flow with the oil price being so low. But longer term, I think this is an excellent buy. If it breaks down to 10, breaks down through 10, there is a bit of a support level here at $9 as well. But after 9, there's nothing there, and but given that those levels are sort of 7 to 10 years old, support and resistance can be a bit meaningless on that sort of long time frames. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how it reacts early in the week. But yeah, I'm still thinking it's not a bad buy for the medium to longer term here. So this is a daily chart for Drillsearch. Um, like most of the oil stocks yesterday, down about between, I think it was almost down 13% at the end of the day. It held up quite well for the majority of the day, and then in the last hour, it fell another sort of 5 or 6%, particularly right at the close as well. Volume was very, very high again. I think up about 6.5 million shares, which is amongst the if you ignore this sort of outlier here, which I think was a capital raising. It's one of the highest volume days in the last 2 years. And I've highlighted these two ranges here, so now we've this move from 160 to 90 cents in 2012 was now repeated. We actually closed right on the last the 91-cent low yesterday. So on a weekly chart in particular, you can see like Santos and just like the oil price as well, very oversold here, down to about 20 on the RSI. So we, as I've said with the Santos chart and the oil chart, it does look like that was almost a clean out yesterday. The company is going from strength to strength really in terms of their drilling program and their production. They're keeping up production, and they're actually even at low oil prices are still making good cash and making all the right moves from what I can see. So I think this is an excellent opportunity to keep to accumulate some stock. I bought some yesterday at the close at 91 cents. So yeah, obviously it could keep going lower, but if 91 cents doesn't hold, there's not a lot of obvious support below that as well. So I guess you got to ask yourself the question: is the company in a better position than it was when it was back down here? If it gets down to say 70 cents, which would be the sort of next obvious support level, is the company a lot stronger now than it was then? And I think the answer is definitely yes. And the prospects for the company are great. So yeah, it's got a better leverage than Santos, for example. A little bit riskier, but still with all the cash they're producing, it's probably I think market cap at this sort of level is about 400 million, which is pretty ridiculous. So yeah, a good buy. This is a chart of Senex Energy. You can see yesterday it closed right on the almost an all-time low since it's been since it's been Senex Energy. Before it was Victoria Petroleum. I've drawn in this little range, sort of this down range here, and what I'm trying to show you here is that often you see these ranges, and then right at the end of a move you'll see a candle that'll fall outside the range, and that tends to be the bottom often when it gaps down like that into a sort of an oversold condition on high volume is a generally sort of a contrarian buy signal. And the fact that it's trading on these sort of lows, I think it was down almost 20% yesterday at one point and closed about 16%, which is the most down of any of the mid-cap oil stocks. So, like all of these stocks, I think it's a very good sort of medium-term to long-term buy. If it's hard to see further downside here, I think the market cap is halved, or it's down 60-70% in the last 6 months, which is astronomical decline. So I think this is a pretty good opportunity at least to start averaging in if you're bullish on the Australian gas story. Because Senex is a company that's really trying to position itself for any sort of shortfall in LNG supply. So they'll be the marginal producer if those LNG plants need to get new fields up and running to support their contracts. So I think we could easily see this bounce again back to sort of 40 cents in the first few days of next week. I think it actually may have the best leverage of any of the oil stocks at this point, given that the fall has probably been the most. It was already very oversold in the last 6 months, and this last week has just capped it off. So yeah, it's if it goes to 20 cents, that the market cap's down to probably maybe 300 million, which is pretty small for the sort of acreage they've got. Their production's maybe not as good as a company like Drillsearch, but they're a longer term acreage and gas play. So yeah, probably a good time to start buying if you're interested in it.